Thank you, Anne. It is my great pleasure to be here in front of you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Pasi Eronen, and as we are already telling you, I'm coming from Huginn. Huginn is a product developed by the Sparta Consulting, a Finnish cybersecurity company. So today, we are going to discuss about role of information integrity in today's business. My personal backgrounds are from the national security and comprehensive security here in Finland, but also I've been involved in many startups and now Sparta Consulting and its product being now the major one at the moment. So when we are talking about information integrity, it's always good to show you some talking heads. In this case, we are having these people from the US intelligence community. Some of you might be asking from me, so how come here in Finland we are watching the faces of the former heads of FBI, former head of US Cybercom, and also former head of director of national intelligence in the US. There's a good reason for that. Because many times in cybersecurity, the phenomena, the understanding of certain problems, it often comes first from the US, one of the most matured markets in this sense, and a lot of the thinking matures there first. But also, as you can see, Professor Liminal is there mentioned as well, and he's been very vocal about talking about this love child of ours, information manipulation here. And why this information manipulation is important for you, business people. So it's quite a simple reason for that, because these fellows from the national security circles, they understand that private sector companies are actually the ones who are owning most of our critical infrastructure, are the ones who are running the show there, and on top of which services is actually all of the vital functions of our societies, Finland included, is running. So thus, it is very important for everyone involved that the private sector understands the risks and also the risk of information manipulation well. But then again, it's not only about understanding the concept or talking about concept of information manipulation. We also have to understand the information itself. And in this case, information, especially the information which is tied with your critical processes that are making your companies tick, that's cornerstone. How many of you actually understand all the sources of the information that your company is reliant on, that operation of your company, the businesses that you're running, and the services that you're providing your clients to? How many of you know the information sources and what information are you reliant on? The critical processes and the pieces, bits of data that they are saying. Some are saying data is being the new oil. I would say maybe it's a fuel. It's a fuel that animates the businesses and their processes. And as was already mentioned by Mats earlier this morning there, often the adversaries that we are fighting against, they have actually been within our systems for quite a long time. In this case, for example, we've been referring to IBM comment saying that roughly 6 months from the breach to the detection. But as Mats was already saying to you, there are many other figures there as well. So if we think that information manipulation is a real phenomena, and that we know that we don't actually know what kind of information our processes are consuming. So that I think that it brings us to the question of that, okay, integrity, information integrity, that must be something important for us. And how we have defined this is that it's a hostile manipulation of those information resources that we are reliant on. Manipulating them in a sense to cause some friction to our business processes, to cause, and even in worst case scenario, to destroy those information assets in a way that we can't anymore use them, or through manipulation cause us to lose our trust in that pieces of data that we are using. So now that we have covered this theory, how would this link with reality that we are having in our environment? So here's an example very much simplified example from healthcare process. A few weeks ago, we ran a seminar here in Helsinki covering information manipulation as a topic, and one of the talkers on that particular seminar was a person from one of the university hospitals. And he showed us a picture from intensive care unit. And it was almost like try to look for a volley in this picture. Where is the patient? Because the patient was all covered by different kind of equipment, different kind of sensors, different kind of devices to manipulate the flesh and bones in that particular patient. In this case, in healthcare sector, the critical process is actually the patient care process. And in order for hospitals to conduct their businesses, to cure and upkeep the life of their patients, they use enormous amounts of data which are residing in repositories of their own, in their devices, healthcare devices, and also some repositories that are actually national ones, like in Finnish case Kanta. And this offers the potential perpetrator various avenues to actually influence that process. Let's say this way, that if I'm a patient who is in demand of like blood transfusion, and my blood group is certain, and for some reason someone has changed that blood type in the system, and the healthcare process is relying on that particular piece of data, and I'm receiving wrong kind of blood, that can have lethal consequences. But in less dramatic cases, we might be following the data in that particular process. For example, to prevent certain kind of medicine from getting into wrong hands. That, for example, our healthcare professionals are demanded to be on shift at their workplaces, in their workstations, in order to prescribe, for example, some medicines that are considered to be limited in their availability, or like containing some narcotic substances. And throughout this process, we have to be able to make sure that the contextual validity of our data is correct. So it's not enough that we say, let's say that we encrypt our data in our databases, and that will make it secure from tampering. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as that. We have to make sure that different pieces of information coming from different sources come together in the right time, in the right phase of the process, in a correct form. So contextual validity of information for our processes is important. So now we have been talking about the problem. So how about the potential solutions? So the key solution is to understand your processes, to understand the information that's connected with those processes, then understand how does that data look like when it's correct. And then you start designing these kind of tripwires, understanding that, okay, if it's wrong, what do we do then? And then we go on to the process of mending the situation. So there's a cycle that we are following. Just to make a brief recap, as you have heard me many times underlining here, business process, business critical data. So we are not talking about perimeter defenses. We are talking about much more matured approach where we are also seeing the state of the information that our businesses are relying on. So this is a business problem. So we see that in order to solve the information manipulation, we have to understand security as a business solution provider, so that the security is providing value. And in case of keeping your data in good check, means that you are providing business value for the company. Not only security value, but also business value. So hereby I'm challenging all of you, what are you going to do in order to battle the information manipulation? And I welcome you all to come over to our stand there in the corner. Thank you very much.